It is day 2 of competition here in Seattle, Washington, as we get ready to see some exquisite Halo action here at the CenturyLink Field Event Center. I have to actually check out that Space Needle eventually because that thing looks pretty darn cool. But welcome everyone. We're hoping that you had such a great time yesterday that you're coming back for some more, because today not only do we settle the pools, but we go into bracket play. I'm Golden Boy, your host, alongside with Lethal, Clutch, and Wonder Boy. As we get ready for today, fellas, this is going to be a fun one. How's everyone feeling? You good? All rested up?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm
Feeling
so
pumped.
ready. I'm so ready for these teams to start narrowing down and seeing the competition just raise and get higher and higher. And the further we get on in this tournament, the better these series are going to be. And I can't wait till some of these top teams end up having to play each other.
I know. It's going to be awesome. Our top 4 teams have performed very well yesterday, but also it's about who's going to be making it to bracket play. But before we go into all that, though, how did we get here? How did we get to the CenturyLink Field Event Center? Because everything started in Orlando, where Splyce took the top crown. Then across the pond, you had Infuse dominate the competition there to punch their ticket for the World Championship. Sydney saw Mind Freak dominate everyone else as well, similar to what we saw from Infuse. Then it would be Psychotic Gaming in Mexico City winning out that event. And then finally, Splyce once again in Columbus, and that had established all the top teams coming into this event and who would be playing for $1 million here at the Halo World Championship. But how does it all work is the question as well. And you know, if you're kind of new here, allow me to go ahead and explain that to you and how the group format plays out. 16 teams from around the world are in attendance, and there are 4 groups of 4 teams, and it is a round robin format, so each team plays each other in their group at one time. We still have some of those matches to settle today, but only the top 2 teams from each group will advance to the championship bracket. The 3rd and 4th place teams are eliminated. Granted, there is some money between the 3rd and the 4th place teams, but it's all about making it to the championship bracket and contending for the bulk of that $1 million prize pool. And the prize pool is substantial this year. $500,000 for first place. Second takes home $200,000. And essentially the difference is $300K between first and second. That is a lot of cash, Lethal.
Yeah, it's life-changing money, all of this. Like, even back in our day, you know, we'd be lucky to win $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. And, you know, these guys, for $500,000 between just one team, you know, it is life-changing money. You know, they could do a lot with that. And we can remember for these guys as well, it's not just about the money, it's about the pride of actually making sure you actually get that W.
That's right. It's about being the champion, Clutch.
Right. As a player, I was never really thinking about the money. You always come in and you've worked so hard for so long, and you want that championship. You want to be able to call yourself #1, the best in the world, and that's what these players are here to find out. Are they the best in the world?
Yeah, I'm pumped, and we have plenty of matches to come, so let's run through the schedule of our matches today, because we're going to open it up with Splyce versus Str8 Rippin, then Oxygen Supremacy versus Infuse, Renegades versus Wise Gaming, and Elevate versus Vex. And I figure, you know what, Wonder Boy, I'll bring you in on this one, but I was going to say it was going to be Lethal, but screw it. Lethal already talked too much. What match are you excited for?
That second game of the day. Oxygen Supremacy versus Infuse.
Kind of feel like it was a lob. I tossed up to you.
Probably
knocked it out of the park.
That Oxygen Supremacy going to take that one. In my opinion, I think Infuse should be taking it. I think it's a massive choke if Infuse do not win that second game of the day.
Ooh.
Loads of good games today. I think Vex versus Elevate has all the ingredients of a good one as well. Don't forget Renegades and Wise Gaming as well. That's a potential for an upset.
Very true, very true. And still, we have to settle for Splyce versus Str8. We have to settle who gets the first spot, but for all of our other matches, who gets the second spot going into the championship bracket. Now let's run through the pools here, starting with Pool D. This is a pool that is headlined by Envy. Envy has looked dominant in this competition, but we had a good match with Elevate yesterday that really showed us what they're made of, Wonder Boy.
Yeah, they certainly seem like they can hang if they play their own game against Team Envious, but they did end up losing that one, and as a result of 1-on-1 in the pool. The money match, so to speak, in that pool is going to be Vex versus Elevate later on. That will decide who makes the top 8, who makes it into that bracket play, and that's going to be a good one. Like I said before, it has all the ingredients of a really good series.
Yeah, and then looking forward to Pool C, Clutch, Reciprocity. This is a team that has shown us consistent improvement throughout the Halo World Championship Tour, but it was the Infuse and Oxygen Supremacy games that told us about who could potentially be making it into that top 8.
Right, we have the matchup of the pool play coming out, and for me, and that's Infused versus Oxygen Supremacy. Oxygen Supremacy came out very flat yesterday, did not put on a good performance when they played Reciprocity. So this Infused roster has an opportunity here to make it out of group play and make it into the top 8 where the real money is. And I can't wait to see if they can bring the same performance they had against Reciprocity and they play against that same Oxygen Supremacy that played against Reciprocity. Infused is going to take that series.
That is a very scary situation for those two teams. Everything has come down to this, but we're not done yet because we also have Pool B, and this is headlined by the People's Team, Tox. This squad, finally getting a logo. So happy about that. But furthermore, though, they are comfortably in the champ bracket, as they should be. Two-time defending world champions, Lethal. But the story here, Renegades, Wise Gaming, you can't count out players like Gilkey and Demon D and Commonly quite yet.
Yeah, with Tox and Mindfreak, it's kind of what we predicted, but with those two teams you spoke about just now, we were talking about Oxygen Supremacy and Infused before, but this is another matchup where there is potential for Wise to actually take that second place spot because, Renegades, they've actually practiced a lot more coming into this compared to the previous two events. But will it show? And also, there's a lot of pressure on them. With Wise, they got that wild card spot. There's no pressure on them. There's no nerves. They don't need to worry about it. They can just go full out. And if they lose, there's nothing to worry about because that's close to their seeding anyway. So it's pressure on Renegades. Will they flop just due to the fact that if they don't make top 2, it's going to see as a massive upset, or will Wise actually bring it back? So I'm really hoping that Wise, they've got the capability. They've been on this stage many times before in the past. So they've got that veteran experience to actually hang with Renegades.
And then the final pool is Pool A. And this is Splyce, who I think everyone here is not surprised to see that they are comfortably going to the champ bracket, as is Str8 Rippin, though. Bear that in mind. Fable Esports and Berserker Esports, unfortunately for them, not going to happen. Their matchup will happen today to determine who gets the 3rd and 4th place in the pool. But Str8 Rippin versus Splyce is going to be our first matchup of the day. And this is going to be a good one, in my opinion. And the reason why I say this is because Str8 Rippin, they have that aggression. They have that youth, similarly to Splyce. But Splyce have obviously managed to hone it a little bit better than Str8 Rippin has. But this Str8 team is scrappy, and I love it, Clutch. I love that this squad finds a way to win. And on top of that, we've seen improvement from them from Orlando to now.
Absolutely. I think we'll see a good balance of aggressiveness from both teams. Unfortunately for Str8 Rippin, I really think that Splyce is a team that kind of counteracts how aggressive Str8 Rippin is known to be, because Splyce is almost known to be more aggressive. So Str8 Rippin's really only strength coming into the series is actually negated by Splyce being better at that actual strength. So I'm expecting a 3-0. Str8 Rippin possibly could take the Slayer, but Splyce is just a better version of Str8 Rippin, if that makes sense.
I'm a big fan of this Str8 Rippin team. I think it's really composed quite well. You have the duo of Destroyed and Nemesis. I think they work really well together in game. Moose is really aggressive, and then you have Rami running the objective as well. My problem with this Str8 Rippin roster is whenever they go up against a top 4 team, like they're about to in Splyce, right? The #1 ranked team in the world right now, in my opinion. They always seem to fall short. You look at their previous scrim results, they beat Maestro 6-3, they beat Immunities 10-2. Of course, they drop a couple of games in there, but then you look at results against Team Envious. They only took 1 game in a 12-game series against Envious. They lost 11-1, and that's the 3rd ranked team in North America.
Yeah, that is certainly a telling result there, but I'm sure for them, it's all about the performance on the stage. On the other side, though, the other side of the stage, you have Splyce, the #1 ranked team, your Orlando and Columbus champions, now looking to be a Halo World Champion. And we did get an opportunity to catch up with Renegade to get his thoughts on this match and how they prepared for it. Let's take a look.
So Renegades, it's day 2. You're now on the main stage, first game of the day, and you're facing Str8 Rippin. You're playing for first in your group. How do you feel?
I feel really confident going into this match, ready to get the day started, good Saturday, day 2, and get a 3-0.
Of course, in the group stages, there's a lot of 3-0s that we've been seeing. We saw a lot of 3-0s yesterday. Matches haven't been that close recently. Does scoring matter to you guys? Are you hoping to get the 3-0s or the 3-1s?
We're always hoping for a 3-0 because definitely this event we want to go undefeated, but 3-1, 3-2 doesn't matter as long as we get the W.
Awesome. And I just want to ask you, is there any teams here today that you've seen yesterday as well that are shocking you a little bit? You think, okay, they're playing up to their standard?
Well, Reciprocity's playing really good. Envy's playing really good. Tox is playing really good, but no one's really shocking me. They're always solid teams, so.
So they don't have a chance to beat you this weekend?
I mean, everybody has a chance, but it's not a big chance.
Okay, and obviously going back to the Str8 Rippin match we're seeing very shortly, how are you guys feeling mentally going into it? Are we going to be seeing some solid gameplay for you guys? You easing back the reins a little bit to save it for Championship Sunday?
No, I mean, every game we're going to go as hard as we can, so you'll see basically Championship Sunday today.
Championship Sunday today. I love it. Renegades, thank you so much. I'll catch you on that stage a little later. Boys, it's back to you on the desk.
And that interview, man, it just shows for how much confidence Renegades does have, and every right to be. He's won the last 2 events so far. He's coming into this, you know, not just assuming they're going to win, but, you know, they've got so much raw talent on that squad. I think the pool play to them is just going to be basic warm-up. And even though it is Str8 Rippin, we've spoken before, where, you know, they're consistent against top 6 and top 8. And Musa, in previous interviews, has also said that, you know, they've really played hardcore in money matches just to get that experience of, you know, making that tournament feel as much as possible, because that is the best practice, in my opinion. Money matches kind of pushes you just that little bit more, that extra 10%. So, but the problem is, I think the skill gap may be way too much for Str8. But you've got to remember, with Splyce, they do take a little bit of time warming up, because they have lost a game or 2 in the past, especially at Orlando, where first time in the morning, Splyce, you know, it takes them a few hours to kind of get into the swing of things, but they still consistently win anyway. So I think with Str8 now, if there was any time to at least take down Splyce or take a few games just to give them that kind of momentum, that morale for the rest of the tournament, then now's the time.
Well, here's your series layout. CTF Fathom, Slayer, Plaza, Strongholds Rig, if necessary. CTF Coliseum, followed by Slayer on Truth. So CTF Fathom, our first matchup here. In Splyce, I mean, you know, this is kind of like just a playground for them as well. How are we feeling about this series layout here, Clutch?
I think if it does go game 4, it's over there. Coliseum Flag is one of Splyce's best game types by far. I mean, there's so many power weapons, so many. They play such an aggressive play style in that game. I mean, even if Str8 Rippin was to somehow take one of the first 3 games, that 4th, that's Splyce's all day.
I think if they were going to take one of the first 3 games, Clutch, I think it's going to be that game 1, Fathom Capture the Flag. I think Str8 Rippin's game type is probably Fathom Capture the Flag, to be honest with you. I like the way they've played it in the past. They've only really dropped it to European teams, such as Vexed, I think, in scrimmages. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Str8 come out the blocks. They need to take that first game if they have any hope in this series.
Sets a tone, right? Just like what we saw yesterday when Fable were able to do the same thing, take that game 1. Unfortunately for them, they just kind of teetered off. They didn't really build off of that momentum, but I feel like the Str8 Rippin team could build off of that momentum, Lethal, if they manage to make it happen.
The only problem is they really struggled in that first match of the day against Fable. You saw how much they were making such major mistakes in such silly situations, like that flag pull, when they dropped it 2 or 3 times on open side of Collie CTF and then like couldn't even get it in the flag cap. It's just little things like this, or actually major things like this, first game of the day, where you can't make these mistakes. And if they're making so many issues and problems for themselves first match of the day against Splyce, they're going to capitalize on that straight away.
But Splyce have also in the past kind of struggled with that first match of the day, though. I mean, it is early, right? I was actually, funny enough, it's just this anecdote, ran into Skeptical in the lobby, and then he comes to me, he's like, man, why we gotta play this first match of the day? Don't they know the players that I have on my team? They're children. So, like, right. You know, I guess everyone kind of feels that way. But, gentlemen, seems like the players are ready to go. But I think everyone's saying here potentially 3-0, 3-1 Splyce?
Yeah, 3-0 Splyce.
3-0 Splyce.
We're at the Halo World Championships. I think it's Saturday. The time for cruise control is over. Splyce is about to show us why they're the best team in the world.
All right, well, I'm excited for this one, folks, and it is now time to get to our first game of the day. Fathom CTF kicks things off. Let's send it over to your casters to get this bad boy rolling on.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, it is our first game of the day, and it's going to be Onse and Walshy bringing it to you at home and here in Seattle. Fathom Capture the Flag could be the first game, Dave. Very exciting game. First seed on the line in this group number A.
Yes, but I think it's pretty tough to think if you're going to predict someone like Str8 over Splyce. We would have to see some amazing plays right out the gate here. Unless we see Str8 get like all 4 down, get a flag cap or 2 within the first couple minutes, I feel like the series might be over. And right at the start, Shotzzy somehow is able to get that pull and toss that across the map and be that distraction for his teammate Eco to get a double kill.
Yeah, Eco picking up the double kill to start it off. Has the railgun as well. So what you would expect to see here from Splyce, early map control, early kills going in their favor, but good job from Str8 Rippin just to slow down that momentum early on. Worst thing they could do at the start of this match, Dave, is leak one of those early flag caps.
Yeah, that's the other part too, is I forgot to mention that second half of it. You don't want to let Splyce get off to a hot start and close this out early. But that's what it's looking like Shotzzy is planning to do at this moment, as they picked off a couple kills and he now has this over towards Porch. Watch Shotzzy's movement as he goes in and out of these small locations. Like for example, when he's over at Silo, he's gonna read that situation. Did he get shot recently? Is there a grenade coming? He's gonna know when he should be going in and out of that cover.
Perfect run from Shotzzy, pulling that flag at exactly the right time. Teammates picking up kills across the board. It was actually Eco who was doing so much damage here, and Shotzzy pops back out to finish that kill from Rami.
So fast for that bait and switch. So most of the times, you're kind of expecting that player to jump out right away. Shotzzy a step ahead of the game. He's going to instantly sprint around the other side of that silo and then jump out to help his teammate who is shooting down. Basically, Splyce players, every single time one of their teammates starts taking some fire, they're going to sprint over or thrust slide over and start getting some extra cover fire for their teammates.
Yeah, no room to breathe here for Str8 Rippin at the start of this one. They're already a flag down. Constant pressure coming in from Splyce as well. And you talk about the speed that they move around the map, and it just makes engagement so much easier for them. You don't get a chance to even think off your respawn here if you're on Str8 Rippin. Already the kills are falling, and you can see 2 players from Splyce immediately going for the objective. This is a tough start here for Str8 Rippin.
Yeah, one of the jokes we used to have back in the day in Halo 1, one of these players named Pray For You, he always claimed he had a fat Master Chief. He felt like his ran a little bit slower. And I think Shotzzy might have like Usain Bolt or something like that for his Master Chief, because he's so damn quick when he's moving across the map.
A fat Master Chief I wasn't expecting first thing in game number 1 here in Seattle. Stella's going to have the new camouflage as well. So 2 flags already in the back here for Str8 Rippin. Camouflage in hands as well, and I believe the railgun's actually in the hands of Rami. So Rami does have an opportunity maybe to pick up some slays, but I like what I'm seeing from Stella here. Not shooting, making sure he's getting behind enemy nines. And now you're just going to see him potentially wait for some kills to go down across the board. 2 players are coming back. That's going to be the railgun out of commission now. He's going to pick that one up. If he can finish the kill on Musa, there might be an opportunity to move this flag.
But look at how Str8 Rippin have to react to this camo in this flank. They don't even feel confident just sending 1 player with a railgun go back and take him out. They have to send 2 players, and they both get wiped out. This should almost certainly be the 3rd and final flag cap going back. Looks like they did get a pull on their own side, however, so that's a great play from Str8 Rippin, but Shotzzy, he's got that quick Master Chief, and he is moving on over towards the blue silo.
Yeah, he's got his sneakers on. He's going to try and move in for this return as well, but Rami does get the beat down. Rami somehow gets the double there, so that means that flag isn't going to be returned immediately. There's going to be more work to do here for Splyce to get that final flag on the board and close out this game number 1.
And I like that play from Stellar. He could have went over towards the treehouse and helped his teammate, but he saw that flag just out in the open like that, and he's going to recover that one real quick.
Just checking my watch.
Yeah.
That was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Game number 1 over already. 3-0 to Splyce. The guys on the desk were worried, you know, are they ready in the morning? Are they going to be awake? Have they had their breakfast? Have they got the coffee inside them? I think we know the answer to that now.
Yes, they are just looking mighty fine. All 8 players in this game, sub-double-digit kills. That's just a testament to how quick it was. 3 minutes and 46 seconds, so barely enough time to get in any sort of rhythm during that first game for Str8 Rippin.
Yeah, completely true, and the thing that impressed me most, I think we saw 3 flag pulls, maybe 4. There was one at the start they didn't convert.
Yes, that's
However,
correct, that's correct.
3 out of 4, you'll take that every single time pretty much, won't you? That was incredible from Splyce. The way they started here on Saturday, as I said on the desk, that was the one concern that a couple of the guys had. Wonder we were saying, will they come out their gates hot? Will they hit their levels that they normally do towards the end of the day early? That was an incredible performance, not just from what we saw from their shots and their individual skill, but their ability to move across the map as a team and convert those objectives.
Yeah, and you bring up that whole point about, you know, getting 3 out of 4 flags. I don't think any team's goal should be we have to cap 100% of the flags we pull, because part of flag pulls should be throughout the matches pulling and using that as distraction during certain situations or circumstances to get certain kills. So for example, you saw at the very beginning of the match, Shotzzy pulled that flag, and that also put a distraction on the map for Eco to get that railgun, to get a double kill, and in turn you kind of say, hey, we're gonna get this flagpole, and if they don't pay attention to it, we're getting this back to our base. However, if they do, and like you almost hope that they do, they're gonna give up some kills, they're gonna give up their positions.
Yeah, makes it very difficult. More decisions than you want to be making, especially first thing in the morning. We're moving on to our second game of the day already. Splyce taking that one in double quick time. We're moving over to Slayer now, moving over to Plaza. We're going to start this one off with Rami because he had a hell of a game, a hell of a day yesterday. Actually, one of the biggest damage dealers that we had in our day number 1.
Yeah, we'll figure out if that's Musa or Rami on your screen, because that's Musa in the PvP, but he just had a rough start right off the bat. One storyline I do want to cover, though, is Rami being here at Worlds. He fell short the last 2 years. He barely missed making it the HCS Pro League for 2 years in a row, but still grinding, and this has to be sweet for him to make it to the Halo World Championships here in 2018.
It'll be even sweeter if you manage to pick up a win here against Splyce as well and take that number 1 seed, but how things are looking at the start here, it looks like Splyce are continuing how they left off on that game number 1. Shotzzy, how do you hit a shot like that? The reaction time is just insane.
Just absolutely unbelievable. I keep telling the man, he has to come up with like his own slogan. Like I told this to Tots back in the day, maybe I'm gonna pass it on to Shotzzy, you know, kind of do like the hand swing, like you're rolling some dice and saying, Shotzzy!
I can't wait till he hits a headshot. We're both doing it, Dave.
And he's probably never gonna do that. These are just like my terrible dad jokes that, that somehow make me laugh, but...
Oh, I was getting ready for it there. 2 players challenging him in the yard. It's almost a surprise when he doesn't hit a whipped no-scope across the map.
That should be our new commentary goal, is instead of just doing play-by-play and saying all the shots that he is hitting, we're going to start to point out, to save our own breath, the shots that he's missing.
Much better idea. Doubling the score already of Str8 Rippin. Set up here.
He missed right there.
He missed right there. That's 1. 2 actually. 2 in this game. Shotzzy, morning. Come on, wake up, buddy. No shots left in the clip, though, so we're going to have to wait until we shout Shotzzy next time, but... Doubling the score, Destroyed picks up a kill, but looks like one side slowed down a little bit here. It's going to be a battle for map control, and Str8 Rippin just a little bit shell-shocked at the start of this one, Dave. Maybe they just need to get an overshield, get something going in their favor.
Gosh, such great shots there over that top gold bridge. He had his teammate Eco to back him up during those situations, but one thing that I think that separates Splyce apart from these other squads is it's not just the individual skill. I think it's each of these players' individual abilities to put themselves in those uncomfortable situations and be that aggressor. I think in most cases, you'll know certain teams, they have that one player, you know, you look at someone like Renegade, you're like, all right, Lunchbox or APG, they're kind of that aggressive player that's going to start the action. Whereas when I look at the Splyce roster, I see any one of those 4 players being the one that's happy to thrust slide around the corner and just get that action started.
Str8 Rippin managed to shut down the overshield there, but all it's doing is creating a distraction. You can see Nemesis has been alive for a while here, but all of his teammates, every time he's looking for a target, are falling around him. All the players there momentarily fall for Str8 Rippin. Shotzzy comes off his respawn now, putting shots down on Rami. There's Eco to finish, and every time we're seeing a Str8 Rippin player, they're getting caught off guard, they're sprinting around. Splyce are just dominating in this second match of the series.
And they just don't stop either. That's the tough part. If you're playing against Splyce, as soon as one of your players goes down, it's not like you get your own luxury of having an individual battle. It's just so tough.
Yeah, and you can see the 2v2 practice that we talked about before. The 2 players there, Eco and Shotzzy, working together, working as that pair, while the other 2 teammates moved across the map and worked as a pair, and it just makes it so difficult to single out a player on Splyce.
Yeah, always pay attention to these players' bait and switches. You'll notice how they'll get to one shot, and they're always ready to either sprint around a corner and help from another angle, or they're happy to jump back out once they start to hear fire. Basically, the way they decide when they're going to come back out is whether their teammate is getting shot or not. Because if their teammate's not getting shot, they realize that the cursor's still on them. But if their teammate is getting shot, they realize it's a low-risk play to jump out and help out.
Great teamwork from Splyce we're seeing in this first game of the day. 35-18 the score at the moment. Overshield going to be popping in around 30 seconds as well. The only real hope here for Str8 Rippin to get hold of that and go on a little bit of a run, but just kills just falling. They're just getting their trades as well at Splyce. It's one thing that's also impressive. Yes, they're up by such a significant margin, but even when one of their players does fall, they're always getting that trade on the board to make sure that that kill lead just stays exactly where it is.
Yeah, when we saw yesterday Splyce's first match, I wasn't as impressed with the scorelines. I mean, we saw a 3-1 flag game, I want to say in Coliseum, as their very first match of the day yesterday. However, these are dominating performances from Splyce because Str8 Rippin being the next best team in their pool. And look at the scoreline. Mark, they're up by 20 kills.
Yeah, up by 20 kills. Eco's currently positive 10 as well. He's at 12-2 in this game number 2. Just 8 kills to go for Splyce. This has been an incredible start to the day for them. Talk about coming out hot. Another body shot, another cleanup, another body shot. Eco takes down Rami. The teamwork, the response to call-outs, Splyce are on fire.
Yeah, and they just know exactly what's going on this whole time. They probably assume there's going to be some spawns over at Loop. As you see, both Eco and his teammate collapsing from yard side. Looking like they did not spawn over at Loop side, so must be bottom sniper hotel at this point. And wow, Nemesis gets a flank on Eco. And that's quite odd. I mean, they got the kills. They thought they had the spawn trap, but right there, Nemesis must have moved quick off spawn or it stayed alive from that previous cycle.
And I think Nemesis actually just picks up a triple kill there, so first bit of good news, to be honest with you, for Str8 Rippin in the entire series. Nemesis has the sniper rifle as well as a bulk shot in his back pocket. So let's swap that one out. No ammo left in the chamber, unfortunately for him, but just 2 kills to go here for Str8 Rippin. Even with a massive play like that from Nemesis, takes down 3 players, gets involved in another battle. It doesn't matter. Splyce just keep flying at him. Just 1 kill to go now.
You would assume that that would be the difference maker, but this might only be the difference maker between getting staked or not. I mean, there is no coming back in this series here for Str8 Rippin, so, or at least in this game. There's always a chance in the series, but based on the way Splyce is playing right now, being up by 21 kills here in game number 2, I think this is going to be a quick 3-0.
Yeah, Eco's fallen apart, by the way. He's now 14-4. Don't know what's happened to him in the last few deaths. He's actually going to put another death on the board here. Rami picks up a double. Nemesis picks up another
They're
one.
off stake territory now. I mean, for those that are new to that terminology, generally it's 50 to 30 or fewer is known as a steak dinner. And do you know where that comes from, Mark?
Tell me. Tell me.
All right, I will tell you. Back in the day, early on when Bungie, I want to say it was in Halo 2, they had something where if you played their devs online and you beat them, and I'm not sure if it was by, I believe it was by that scoreline, they would literally mail you out a frozen steak.
Oh, awesome. I mean, that's not what you want to receive at the moment if you're on Str8 Rippin, to be honest with you. That was a dominating performance once again in that game number 2 from Splyce. And yesterday they looked a little bit shaky in a few games, you have to say, but this is a tournament winning looking team. The performance across the board, and Eco with the killing frenzy. 10 kills without reply in that game. A massive performance from him, but across the board, surprise, surprise, every single player there on Splyce going positive.
Yep, and you can't herald on one player or the other and be like, oh, Eco absolutely dominated versus Stellar, because, I mean, Stellar was the star player yesterday. I mean, he was the one that was going like 19-2 or whatever, and so it shows that there's great consistency amongst that whole roster. They're not just relying on one player to go off, whereas when you looked at yesterday, I mean, Tox, you saw Frosty have a rough game. His team lost that Coliseum Team Slayer against Renegades, and then the next couple games he went off, but you start to question, like, wait, is Frosty allowed to have bad games or not? Or is that going to cost Tox a game or a series?
It's actually a question that I've asked. I feel like if Frosty has a bad game, sometimes it's not actually down to him. It's actually down to his teammates. Maybe he's the most aggressive player on that team, in my opinion, and he's always the first one engaging in battles. And sometimes I feel like if he has a bad game, it's actually down to his teammates not doing a good job of covering Frosty and making sure they're in good enough positions to keep him alive in certain situations. But that's Tox. We're going back to this series now. Obviously, Splyce, as you say, they just seem to be covering each other. The perfect example of that was the little run we saw in the middle. I believe we were on the point of view of, I believe it was Eco, and we were just seeing every time that he hit a bullet or a shot or anything on a player, it was immediately cleaned up. We heard that little assist come in, and that is just textbook teamwork coming in from this team.
Absolutely. I'm actually very curious, too, how they do their 2v2s. That I assume they switch it around. They probably don't stick with the same duos every single time because when they're practicing that up, they want to get used to each other's tendencies, how they play. They want to know how to counter each other, and they just keep building up those individual fights and their map awareness.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I doubt there's a divide. Like, I'm not playing with you. We're going to just start a storyline here that Stellar and Eco hate Renegade and Shotzzy, and they don't get on, but that's obviously not true. And I want to actually talk about one moment in that game. We talked about rolling the dice. Shotzzy, the reaction time on that sniper shot. I mean, with all due respect, Dave, you might have hit that one back in the day, but how difficult is that shot to hit? I mean, it's just freakish ability.
Yeah, the sniper is a lot different today than it was in the past, but just in general, the skill level of these players have superseded what we've done in the past. The way I like to kind of explain it is, when I first picked up an Xbox controller, I was 16 or 17 years old. And so I was a very strong player back in the day. I won a lot of tournaments, but the whole level of skill these players have now, the fact that they've been able to have an Xbox controller in their hand since they were 3 to 5 years old or whatever it happened to be, building up that muscle memory is just something that's irreplaceable. I mean, it's hard to hear of someone going absolutely pro after, you know, picking up something when they're 15 to 20 years old. And so hearing these players just, you know, seeing that work pay off the way that I'm sure they've been gaming most of their lives, their skills on a whole nother level. When people ask why I don't compete anymore, I'm just like, did you see their shots? Did you see them play?
I don't want to get beaten by them. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to happen. But I want to talk a little bit about actually the progression to the top level of Halo 5 that we've seen. We look at the likes of Shotzzy, we look at the likes of Renegade. Shotzi's first event was about a year ago. It was in January, I believe. It was in St. Louis. Back at the Halo Championship Series event. To rise, I think he got top 8 at his first event. I mean, you look back in the day, I mean, how difficult was it to get top 8 back on Halo 2, Halo 3, to come out of nowhere and just within a year be on that top rated squad and winning championships?
It's difficult. I mean, you hear of a couple success stories each year, but the majority of the time you hear different stories, more like someone like Rami, where it's like, you know, they grind from year to year, get so close to making pro level, falter, you know, barely cross that line, then kind of dance around that line. But yeah, to see some players reach that success and that level of dominance so quickly is just incredible.
And let's talk about the other side a little bit. Str8 Rippin obviously going to be a bit shell-shocked at the moment. They've just been, you know, pushed aside in those first 2 games. It was a dominant display from Splyce. What would you say to them if you were in the comms at the moment? You stood behind them, you're that coach. How do you kind of refocus your team? And it's a best of 5 series. There's always a chance in a best of 5. How can they get their mentality right moving into these next 3 games?
It's tough. I mean, you don't have like those locker room speeches that you see in the movies where it's like, all right, guys, we just got to step it up here and we're going to go out and we're going to win. It's more so mixing something up and figuring out which variables you want to tweak. So at some point you have to say, all right, generally if like someone like Musa is kind of their entry-level player who's pushing through and starting those fights, first off, we got gold rec pack on your screen, so I wanted to make you all aware of that really quick before I go on my long rant. But for Str8 Rippin's sake, they have to tweak something. Whatever they're doing right now is not working. And one thing I'm noticing is sometimes they're being a bit too reactive. I think back to that very beginning of CTF Fathom where they sent 2 players back to their own base, playing defensive, trying to go defend there. And Splyce, they just move around a little bit quicker, and they're a bit more comfortable during some of those situations. So I would say Str8 Rippin needs to be just a bit more aggressive, just kind of play their own plan. So instead of, in this case, where let's say Splyce are retaking BR base, instead of getting aggressive and going back to your own base, maybe go and get a counter cap on Splyce, put them on the defensive for once.
Musa does have the first camouflage of the game, so that's a little positive here for Str8 Rippin. And they're going to be scoring, so pretty much an uncontested camouflage at the start there, so a nice opening strategy coming in from Str8 Rippin to secure that power-up. You're going to see Musa going to play this one nice and simply at the moment, but look at that, Shotzzy, after not even getting the first beat down, the first shot on the engagement, he somehow wins that battle. It's not just a 1v1, it's against the camo player as well.
That's such an incredible 1v1 win, and that's also more of a mistake from Musa. If you think about his positioning in that situation, he's in a narrow hallway. There's really not many other spots where you can crouch or crawl or hide behind. And if you're in that sort of situation where you're in a close hallway, you can't go for the melee first. You have to go for some shots. Go for like a 3-shot beatdown, or maybe just try to fight that close to mid-range fight with just pistol only. Don't get in melee range because you're asking for it.
Triple cap was in effect there early for Splyce. However, Str8 Rippin did a good job. Picked up 3 kills consecutively, which has opened up the map a little bit for them now. 2 kills do go down to the guys on Splyce, though. Rami needs to finish this kill, does finish this one, has another player on his radar as well. Shotzzy's going to challenge him. Shotzzy somehow managing to stay alive, but Nemesis comes in to help him out there. Splyce still scoring, even though these kills are falling into the hands of Str8 Rippin.
And keep in mind right there, even though Shotzzy got taken out there and Rami ended up getting shield back, look at just that difference in damage. Shotzzy was a 1-shot player. He got 2 or 3 extra shots into Rami, who had the height advantage. Just these players from Splyce know how to fight in those uncomfortable situations.
3 fell there for Str8 Rippin. That's going to be bad news because we've just approached the minutes where the power-ups are going to be coming up. New camo, the new railgun, you can see that in the hands of Shotzzy, finding 2 kills straight away. Teammates doing a great job of finishing off the other 2 as well. Fantastic movement. They now have the camo, they now have the rail, and they have control of all 3 strongholds.
And look how Shotzzy is looking one step ahead. Instead of looking immediately over at the carbine spawns, he's looking for a player to revert over towards that back catwalk. he's saying, all right, I don't care if I kill the person spawned the right way. I want to get the one who's flanking out first and keep them in this trap.
Look at that trap. I mean, all players from Str8 Rippin were there. It looked like they were completely clueless about how to get out of that situation. The pressure that is applied by Splyce on the respawns. Another player, he's just come off respawn there in the bunker after taking a player out, comes back, jumps E2, immediately dead. No way to get out of a respawn, let alone halfway across the map here for Str8.
No, it's such a tough situation. Looking like Renegade's going to kind of smell this one out first, see where these players are going. Eventually picks off Rami, who's a bit over there in the Carbine side. He was a bit weak, but that's just a tough situation. I mean, when you're starting to spawn over in Bunker, over in Carbine, you don't have many great options if the other team is already set up. So at some point, you just have to kind of choose a way and go. You can't just sit and poke and prod that entire time, because the longer you wait, the longer that the opposing team has to trap you in there. They can move people over from Whitehall or other locations to keep trapping you in that position.
Renegade might die here, to be honest. He has absolutely no bullets in his gun. Str8 Rippin managed to take him down finally, but Stella's going to come in, keeping the pressure on those players from Str8 Rippin. 74-14 the score at the moment. The story of this series so far, Dave, has been that Splyce are here to play on Saturday. You heard it from Renegade in the interview with Lottie saying that you're going to see Championship Sunday Splyce today, and his words, they're coming true as we speak.
Yeah, he just spoke with such confidence there. You can just see, like, yeah, there's some great teams. No one's really shocked him thus far with performances. He's just saying, yep, they're good teams, and he doesn't care if they win 3-0 or if they win 3-2. A win is a win in his book, but I think this is an absolute statement here from the Splyce squad, the fashion that they're winning this series in right now.
Stella picking up to Renegade. Going to lead the BR base there. First mistake we've pretty much seen, but look at that. Makes him end for it. Stella picks up a triple kill, looking for the overkill. Narrowly misses that one, but he will take down this player. No, he won't. Surprise, see what I mean? You're not expecting these players to miss shots. They do, and it actually catches me off guard.
And even saw a little bit of frustration from Stella right there. I know they have a significant lead, but he was, you could tell the disappointment in himself. He's like, well, how did I miss this overkill? How did I miss this next shot? He actually jumps out in frustration over there. I don't think it's going to have an effect on the winner of this match. But at the same time, too, you can see Stellar's maybe not at 100% right now, especially compared to how well he was playing yesterday.
And little plays like that from Renegade. His positioning with the camouflage, making sure that he was in a position where he could avoid any grenades coming into that stronghold.
Also avoid the melee.
Exactly.
Look at the difference between that and Musa. This last time Musa had that, Musa was hoping to get some sort of sneaky melee. Renegade realizing, nope, I'm in a narrow hallway right now. I just need to take the first available shots that I can and just win the 1v1. Not hope that I get like an unseen backsmacker melee. It's one of those things like you can't hit the trick. You're like, I need to continue to do it.
Finally, he gave up. He was looking for the spring jump. I was waiting for him to hit it. That's another mistake. That's another one we can put on the pile here for Splyce. But 94-33, not too many mistakes that are going to cost them any points at the moment. Nemesis is going to have another battle here. Stella wins that one again. This game is pretty much done here. 98-33. It looks like Splyce are going to start off our Saturday here at the Halo World Championships in Seattle with a 3-0 victory over Str8 Rippin.
Yeah, Splyce are looking mighty strong right now, so I'd be very scared to play them upcoming in these bracket play matches. That's just an absolute dominant performance right there.
Yeah, first seed secured then for Splyce in their group. They take that #1 spot. Str8 Rippin, they'll be sat in second place at the moment, but it was the level of performance in that series, wasn't it? I think that's the first real series we've seen so far with complete domination between arguably two closely matched teams as far as seeds are concerned in this tournament.
Yeah, that we've seen some other closer matches. You know, I mean, like the Tox Renegades one was closer, but this one was just, like you said, it was such a dominating performance. I really don't know what to make of it. I mean, across the board, they completely outslayed every single game, clearly the Slayer, but this one is 50-33 in slays. When you have that many more slays on the board, you just have so many more options. You just have so much more time on the map where you have a 4-on-3 situation or a 3-on-2 situation or whatever it happens to be.
Splyce absolutely dominant in that series. We heard from Renegade, I mentioned it before, like he said that you're going to see championship caliber play from them today. What do you think's changed from yesterday where they were looked a little bit disjointed at times, obviously, to what we are seeing now on the main stage?
As far as changes, I think it's just kind of the mindset going in from Friday to Saturday to Sunday. Mainly the caliber of teams you're playing. At some point, they're going to go through some of these pool play matches, and of course, there's world championship level teams out here at this event, but in their pool, they're very predicted to just dominate their pool. So it's one of those things. It's hard to get excited about something that you're just supposed to do. It's like no one's predicting a close match between Splyce and any of these rosters inside the pool play. So for them, it's sort of like, all right, let's just do business as usual, get through Friday and such. And then when it comes to Saturday and Sunday, it's like, all right, now these teams actually have legit chances of beating Splyce. You even heard Renegade said, like, in his confidence voice, said, you know, they don't have a great chance of beating us, but they have a chance. Whereas I think he looked at most of the other teams in pool play as not having a chance.
Well, no chance there for Str8 Rippin, but we're going to send it back to Golden Boy on the desk at the moment. Blake, break that one down for us, gentlemen, because that was a dominant display from Splyce.
That's right. They came, they saw, they conquered. Splyce just shredding. They straight ripping through the competition, honestly, at this point, because that was just, I don't even know, like, what to say.
They
like,
Straight to the loser bracket.
They spliced them up, really?
Yeah, they were straight ripping through them.
I don't like you. That's what I've determined. Guys, I don't even know where to start. Because there isn't a lot to be said that hasn't already been said about Splyce. But for them, well, firstly, they start off, and we might as well just jump into Fathom caption a flag, because they simply just, they opened the game up with a cap. It was almost as if the game started lethal, and then they got a cap.
It's the fact that almost every single cap was so clean. I've never known a team with such fast reactions and defensive setups to actually cap it every time, because it doesn't matter what team or what caliber the players are. Normally in these matchups, almost every cap is sloppy. Every cap is at least a bit messy here, there, and everywhere, because it's so hard to get it on your half of the map. But the fact that they 3-0'd him in 3 minutes and 48 seconds against a potential top 6 team, it just shows how dominant and focused and practiced they are coming into this event.
What I absolutely love about Splyce is the fact that you think about Shotzzy, right? You think about a dominant individual, an insane individual player. He was actually the man running the objective on Fathom. All 4 of Splyce's grabs came from Shotzzy. And when you've got an asset to a team like Shotzzy, who is so strong individually and is an absolute monster, and you can say, hey, go get that flag, and you know he's going to do it, that's just a scary thought. There is no other words.
Any notion of Splyce coming out flat and Str8 Rippin having a chance in this series was shut down within 3 minutes and 48 seconds, or however long that Fathom flag game was. I blinked and it was over. Splyce did a great job just making sure they came out hot, finishing that series the way they needed to, and now they have the rest of the day to start getting ready for this championship bracket. Yeah, and we'll dive deeper into some of the other games, but we did want to do a new segment here, the G Fuel Play of the Match. And for this one, I think it goes without saying, solid camo play leads to the win for Splyce.
And you can see here from now, like, literally all of Str8 tried to come back and get a crossfire going. They knew one of their teammates was going to spawn Engine, and you saw those 2 players straight away went on elbow side. So at least when Splyce push, they have that crossfire going where literally they can trade enough to at least get that defensive setup going and then push out. But you saw with that camo play, he knew they were going to do it. He knew it was going to happen. Basically, his game sense saw that they needed to get elbow side to solidify it, but they completely shut it down.
I think the biggest thing about that camouflage play for me is not the fact that he got those 2 kills, it's the fact that those 2 players had to come back from map control from Str8 Rippin. At that point, although Stella had the camouflage, Str8 Rippin, they were advancing on the map. They had top middle. They were pushing on Splyce's base. Then they got the call out, hey, someone from Splyce is in our base with camouflage. And then they had to pull those resources away from that, and that double led to a lot of advancement on the map from Splyce.
And the game winner.
I'm actually going to add on to that. The biggest thing in that whole play for me individually was that was the only time you really saw Str8 Rippin with a power weapon, was that railgun guy. I mean, Str8 Rippin was not going to win this series in a million years, but they're not going to win it in a trillion years if they're not getting power weapons. And the one time they get rail, he gets assassinated by the camo guy. I mean, Str8 Rippin, you got to do a better job of getting these power-ups against these top teams, because just giving Shotzzy and Renegade and all these players camo and railgun and snipes and rockets, it's not going to be good in your favor.
Yeah, then we look forward, though, in the series, going to Plaza Slayer. This is where Splyce won 50-32. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was Shotzzy got the snipe, and then he just was shooting. He didn't care. Everyone's like, oh, prioritize your shots. You know, Snipe Down was always one of the guys known as the individuals who, when he got the sniper rifle, he simply just he took his time with the shots, right? He was very, very calm, cool, and collected. But here, these guys, they don't care. They just shoot the gun. They simply just don't mind it.
It's literally just pure confidence. And a great example is the fact that normally when you kill him in yard blue and a spiral area and they'll spawn hotel in S1, like a lot of teams will basically maybe not be quick enough to give him a chance just to go up from S1 to lift to nest, or maybe go from hotel to dipped and get blue back. But the fact that they don't give him a chance to go up the lift that fast, it just shows, you know, the capability of this team.
And the domination continued as Splyce were able to establish a significant lead. You see there a trip cap already in the game. At that point, they went from 20 to 44, and then they just kept piling on the points. It was a very long time before Str8 Rippin were able to do anything on Rig, Wonderboy.
It's just disgusting when you just watch all these replays. It's like, how are these guys this good when they barely even scrim? I think they've scrimmed a grand total of 10 times since before Orlando, and they are just still outrageously good. Like, they were running Str8 Rippin off the map. Str8 Rippin never had a handle on that game, and they had no chance.
There was a good conversation on the Team Beyond forums, as a matter of fact, that I have to hearken to. It's simply because I think someone mentioned that Shotzzy had played potentially 5 hours or something like that of Halo total coming into this event. But then someone had mentioned, I don't know who it was, so pardon, but they had mentioned, well, when you're at the top of the mountain like that and you are just destroying everyone, if you keep playing, you're gonna kind of lose that edge. And Clutch, I want to get your thoughts here. Like, if you keep playing and just continue to refine, does it get to a point where you start to get into habits that then bring you back?
I think it's an interesting theory. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I was one that wanted to play as much as possible. That being said, this game's been out for 3 years now. This is our 3rd World Championship for Halo 5. Shotzzy's been grinding for the past 3 years. So if he takes days off towards the end of it, I mean, he's learned just about everything he's going to learn in Halo 5. It's really just making sure he can keep his gun skills up, and if he feels comfortable enough playing the amount that he's played coming into this event, I mean, I haven't seen anything to show me otherwise.
There was a European player on a Halo 3 roster called Power Gaming. His name was Jack Baxter. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Baxter.
Sadly,
yes. Sadly, right. He used to aim for 50 MLG experience a day in the MLG playlist. So that's not just 50 games, that is 50 wins. And I don't even think that's actually possible, but that's what he would try and strive to do. And he was a player that kind of went from a mid-tier player at the start of Halo 3, and then he really became one of the best players from that insane amount of experience he was getting, that pure grinding of the game. Towards the end, he didn't play as much, but I think there's kind of parallels right there from Shotzzy. He used to play at the start. As Wes used to say, he played so much, he grinded the game, found out all that he needed to know, and now he just needs to keep those skills fresh.
I think as long as he's up to date on the new meta of how rotations and everything is working, he's perfectly fine, because it seems like Splyce has set the meta, especially the last 2 tournaments. Splyce is above all the teams, and they've proven that by getting first in the last 2 North American tournaments. So his team's created the new meta, and now it's how all these teams have to react to it. So Shotzzy and the rest of Splyce, I mean, they're sitting back waiting for someone to counter what they can do, because until otherwise, they're number 1.
And you know, it's a very well documented fact that Walshy and Lethal have a hard time accepting the fact that these that Splyce plays 2v2s to get prepared for an event.
I don't believe it. Honestly, like, they say that, but I believe they must scrim in the background. Was it 5 hours of playtime? No, that actually confirms my theory even more. But one thing about Shotzzy before we move on, I was going to say that I was watching some of the gameplays back and some of the VODs of like him in the previous tournaments, because I just wanted to know why he's such a consistent biggest damage dealer on the circuit, because he doesn't just do it now and again, he does it all the time, constantly. And obviously when you're an entry slayer, obviously you're bound to die quite a lot, but obviously with the support of his team, it's fantastic. So like, it's not just the fact that he trial and errors every part of the map on the main positions to know where they're going to look, not just because of the fact that he abused the geometry of the map, it's the speed he does it. So for example, when he's got the snipe and he's looking at a certain area of the map, most players will probably have a strong discipline of looking at just that little bit longer just to see if it actually come up. But instead, he's like, no one's there, no one's there, no one's, like, it's just his reaction speed compared to everyone else. He has a different reaction circuit compared to everyone else. Some people will rather have a work ethic of discipline of just waiting a little bit longer, assuming that they're not there or they could be there. But it seems like he just knows 100% all the time, and that's just pure game sense.
I noticed, what was it, Plaza, he had sniped, looked up onto top gold, top yellow, whatever you want to call it, and he had this angle that was a very specific angle. It was almost as if he knew exactly where that player is going to clamber because he's looked at that view so many times.
I watched Shotzzy and I think I learned about 5 different new things every single time. Him and Renegade just seem to find new spring jumps, new different movements, new angles on each map every single tournament. It's crazy. And how do you play against